Welcome back. I am so incredibly glad you could join us today because we have a truly mind-bending deep dive lined up for you.
We really do.
Yeah, and I should officially say, welcome to our massive Season 2 premiere.
It is so great to be back.
It is. It's been, what, 6 months?
Just about, yeah.
So we're pulling back the curtain today on one of the most complex, high-stakes case files from the archives of the Behavioral Probability Unit, since they were officially back in action.
Right, and we are going to explore this modern mystery that's come to be known as the Miami vacuum case.
And it's a case that, well, honestly, it fundamentally alters how you perceive the spaces you occupy every single day.
Oh, absolutely, because we're looking at a targeted assassination here.
Yeah.
But the killer didn't use a firearm or a blade or any kind of chemical toxin.
They use the building itself.
Exactly. They weaponized architecture, they weaponized the fundamental laws of physics, and they executed the entire event through smart technology.
Which is terrifying.
It really is. We are going to explore how this unique, really unprecedented blend of cyber forensics and structural engineering was the only thing that could decode this methodology.
And to really appreciate the gravity of what happens down in Miami, we have to contextualize where the Behavioral Probability Unit is at this exact moment in time.
Right. Because you have to remember the psychological toll the New York subway case took on the team.
Yeah, we discussed that a while back, and how it ultimately led to Kendrick heading back to Scotland.
Which left a massive hole in the roster.
It did, and if you look at the unit's internal audio logs from the 6 months following his departure, they haven't had a single second to catch their breath.
No, the operational tempo has been just staggering. I mean, it left a significant void in the team, both professionally and psychologically, but the crime simply didn't pause for them to recalibrate.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Just looking at Elias Vance's debriefings from this period is, it's exhausting.
Oh, for sure.
Back in October, they were deployed to Chicago. They were hunting down the Golden Ratio sniper. Then, barely 2 months later in December, you've got Agents Hatch and Elias Vance trudging through the Alaskan wilderness.
Nearly freezing to death, I might add.
Literally.
Yeah.
While taking down the Midnight Sun cult.
Yeah.
So they have been battered by the elements, but more importantly, by the sheer cognitive weight of analyzing these offenders.
And what's fascinating here is the evolution of the criminal methodologies they're tracking. As Vance noted in those Alaskan debriefings, killers aren't just becoming more ruthless, they are becoming structurally smarter.
Structurally smarter. I like that phrasing.
Yeah, they are utilizing the built environment in ways law enforcement just hasn't anticipated yet. The paradigm is shifting away from direct physical violence and moving toward remote environmental manipulation.
Which perfectly explains the newest addition to their roster.
Yes.
Because to catch a structurally smart killer, you need someone who fundamentally understands how structures are built and how they fail.
Exactly.
Enter Special Agent Damian Cross.
The forensic structural engineer.
Which, let's be honest, is an incredibly cool title.
It's amazing, and it's a vital discipline, especially in contemporary profiling. I mean, you have team members like Jax, who is unparalleled at hacking code and navigating the digital infrastructure of a crime.
Right.
But digital space is only half the equation in the modern world. Agent Cross is there to read the physical manifestation of that data.
He's looking at the bones of the building.
Exactly. He reads concrete, tension cables, steel girders, architectural blueprints. He's looking for how physical environments can be compromised, and he's highly pragmatic. He analyzes building schematics with the exact same rigorous intensity that Elias Vance applies to mathematical probabilities.
It introduces a completely new analytical dynamic to the unit.
It really does.
And his unique skill set is put to the test almost the minute he unpacks his bags. So here's where it gets really interesting. Miami, Florida. Cross flags a massive environmental anomaly. The victim is Mateo Vargas. The files describe him as a highly corrupt, very wealthy real estate developer.
A guy with a lot of enemies.
Tons of enemies. And Vargas is found dead inside his own penthouse office, which sits on the 40th floor of the state-of-the-art LE-certified Horizon Tower.
A building that, according to its own promotional material and security audits, should be virtually impenetrable.
Right, it's a fortress.
The Horizon Tower represents the absolute pinnacle of modern, sustainable, secure, commercial architecture.
So let's look at Agent Hatch's field notes from the initial walk through the crime scene, because they read like a science fiction novel.
They really do.
Hatch and the local hazmat teams arrive at this 40th floor corner office. And the first thing they observe is that the reinforced smart glass windows are completely pristine.
Not a scratch on them.
No forced entry. There are no signs of a physical struggle anywhere in the room. The air quality sensors confirm there are no toxic gases or chemical agents present, and a sweep of the room yields no conventional weapons.
So on the surface, it presents as a classic locked room mystery, but with a glaring absence of any mechanism of death.
Right. However, the environmental details left behind tell a much more methodical story.
The weirdest clues.
Bizarre clues. Hatch notes that every single liquid in the room has undergone a radical, inexplicable transformation.
Yeah.
Vargas had a massive, high-end saltwater fish tank in the office. The water in that tank had instantly boiled over and then evaporated, leaving just desiccated marine life behind.
Awful.
And the coffee sitting in his mug on the desk, it had completely boiled away, leaving just a scorched residue.
Which logically leads us to the medical examiner's findings.
Dr. Eris Thorne.
Right. Dr. Thorne conducted the preliminary examination on Mateo Vargas, and he determined the cause of death to be a physiological phenomenon called ebulism.
Ebulism. It's one of those clinical-sounding words that doesn't seem too intimidating until you break down what it actually does to the human body.
It's horrific. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the basic physics of how liquids behave under varying pressures.
Yeah.
Most of us are taught that at sea level, water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. But boiling isn't just a function of temperature. It is heavily dependent on atmospheric pressure.
Right, like boiling water on a mountain takes less heat.
Exactly. The lower the pressure of the environment, the lower the temperature required to make a liquid reach its boiling point.
So if you aggressively remove the atmospheric pressure from an environment...
The pressure in that room dropped to absolute zero.
Wait, let me stop you there.
Yeah.
When you say absolute zero, my mind immediately goes to temperature, like freezing cold, 0 Kelvin. But you're talking about atmospheric pressure, right? You mean a perfect vacuum.
I am so glad you caught that distinction. Yes, we are talking about a total absence of atmospheric pressure, not a drop in temperature.
Okay, got it.
In aviation and aerospace medicine, there is a threshold known as the Armstrong limit. It's the altitude, typically around 60,000 feet, where atmospheric pressure is so incredibly low that water boils at the normal human body temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. The killer didn't need to heat the room. They just needed to simulate an environment past the Armstrong limit.
Meaning the atmosphere of the office itself became the murder weapon.
Precisely. The moment the pressure in that sealed room plummeted to a perfect vacuum, the water inside Mateo Vargas's blood and soft tissues literally began to boil while he was sitting at his desk.
That is insane.
The dissolved gases in his bloodstream expanded rapidly, causing massive embolisms, and his lungs ruptured from the explosive decompression. As Dr. Thorne noted in the file, the unknown subject, the unsub, didn't smuggle a bomb or a bioweapon past security.
They utilized the terrifying absence of everything.
They simply removed the air.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because from a purely logistical standpoint, that sounds scientifically impossible to pull off in a commercial skyscraper.
It does sound impossible.
How in the world does someone turn a sprawling 40th floor corner office into a perfect vacuum chamber? You can't just suck the air out of a massive room with a standard ceiling vent.
And that skepticism is precisely what drives the investigation. It's where the synergy between the behavioral probability unit's cyber and architectural experts cracks the methodology wide open.
Jackson Cross working together.
Exactly. You have Jax operating remotely from the servers in Quantico, dissecting the building's digital footprint, while Agent Cross is on-site in Miami, analyzing the physical bones and schematics of the Horizon Tower.
And we've all been in those modern office buildings, right?
Yeah.
Where the thermostat is locked behind a little plastic box and you're freezing in the middle of July, but you can't even crack a window because the entire building is smart.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's a mild everyday frustration. But this case takes that exact same architectural concept and turns it into a lethal vulnerability. Cross pulls the blueprints for the Horizon Tower and identifies how this was possible.
Because it's a AED-certified building.
Right. It's designed for maximum energy efficiency. And to achieve that, the building essentially breathes on its own using a highly centralized, automated HVAC mainframe. And to maintain absolute control over that interior climate, the windows in the penthouse are sealed permanently. They do not open under any circumstances.
Which is an increasingly common feature in modern urban architecture. It's ostensibly designed for safety and environmental sustainability, but Cross realizes that this specific design choice turns the office into a hermetically sealed box.
A trap.
A total trap. All it takes is the right digital key to lock it down from the inside out.
And that's where Jax's cyber forensics come into play. Jax traces the digital anomalies and discovers that the unsub had injected a highly sophisticated, malicious override code directly into the building's central life support server.
Right. This wasn't a brute force hack, it was surgical.
Very targeted.
The code specifically targeted the climate control sector for Vargas's office and locked the mechanical air intake valves, so fresh oxygen could no longer enter the room.
But simply locking the intake valves would only result in hypoxia. Vargas would have suffocated slowly over several hours as he consumed the remaining oxygen. To achieve ebulism, to violently boil a man's blood at room temperature, you have to actively and rapidly extract the existing air to create that perfect vacuum.
Right.
But hold on. I've stood next to industrial exhaust fans on the roofs of big buildings. They're powerful, sure. But pulling a perfect vacuum in a room that size, wouldn't the fan motors just burn themselves out from the sheer physical resistance of fighting against that much pressure?
You would think so.
There has to be a physical fail-safe to prevent the machinery from destroying itself.
Normally there is. Every piece of industrial HVAC equipment has physical governors and software limiters designed to prevent catastrophic motor failure. But that is the brilliance of the unsub's malware. Jax discovers that the code didn't just reverse the massive industrial exhaust fan situated on the roof, it actively bypassed the safety governors.
Wow.
These are fans engineered to cycle air for thousands of square feet of real estate. The killer's code forced those fans to operate at 1,000% of their rated capacity. They were deliberately sacrificing the hardware to achieve the necessary suction.
And cross-calculated the resulting physics on site. The building's own HVAC system, fighting past its own safety limits, sucked every single cubic inch of air out of Vargas's office in exactly 8.4 seconds.
8.4 seconds.
In less than 10 seconds, a luxury penthouse was transformed into a lethal vacuum chamber.
It is a brilliant, entirely horrific application of engineering. We really need to pause and consider the concept of weaponizing sustainability.
Yeah, that's a huge theme here.
Think about the global push for LEA certification. We intentionally design airtight buildings so we aren't leaking heating and cooling into the atmosphere. It's fantastic for the energy grid.
Sure.
But by permanently sealing the windows and relying entirely on a single centralized HVAC server, we are creating massive single points of failure. The Horizon Tower wasn't just hacked, its very design philosophy was exploited.
It makes you look at the vents in your own ceiling a little differently.
Oh, without a doubt.
Just thinking about the sheer latent power of the industrial systems we walk past every day, totally ignorant of what they could do if they were pushed beyond their safety limits.
It demands a profound shift in how we evaluate security. We are so heavily focused on data encryption, or who can physically swipe a key card to walk through a lobby door.
Right, the physical access.
But this offender recognized that the ultimate power lies in controlling the atmosphere itself. If you control the atmospheric pressure, physical security protocols become entirely irrelevant.
Which completely changes the profile of the killer. This isn't a typical corporate hitman.
Not at all.
Which brings us to Elias Vance's epiphany in the Behavioral Probability Unit's mobile command center. Elias is analyzing the sheer, excessive complexity of this crime, and he realizes this wasn't just an assassination for the sake of taking out a corrupt real estate developer.
No, this was an exhibition.
An exhibition. The methodology is too deliberate, too theatrical, to just be a standard contract killing for financial gain.
Elias profiles the unsub as a physics extremist.
A physics extremist.
This is an individual who is using human lives to make a deadly philosophical point about the fundamental inescapable laws of nature, specifically Boyle's law,
Right.
which describes the inversely proportional relationship between the absolute pressure and volume of a gas.
And the unsub actually left a physical calling card at the crime scene to explicitly confirm this profile. Sitting right there on Mateo Vargas's desk, amidst the scorched coffee and the dead fish, was an antique brass barometer.
Such a chilling detail.
And it was meticulously calibrated to read exactly 0. It's such a dramatic, taunting detail. It's the killer saying, look at the sheer power I command, look at the void I can create.
It's an arrogant signature, certainly, but structurally it reveals a catastrophic psychological escalation. An offender who goes through the trouble of sourcing an antique instrument, calibrating it, and placing it at the scene is deeply proud of their methodology.
Right.
They view themselves as an educator, or an artist.
So what does this all mean for the team? Well, Elias Vance puts it together perfectly. Vargas was just a proof of concept.
Just a test run.
Exactly. Taking out one corrupt billionaire in a penthouse was the unsubling. Testing the waters, proving the malware worked, proving the physical fans wouldn't burn out before the vacuum was achieved.
Yeah.
But a physics extremist who leaves a calibrated antique barometer at the scene, they don't just want one victim, they want a captive audience.
Which raises an important question and an immediate ticking clock crisis for the unit. If Vargas was just the beta test, where does a killer with this specific fixation escalate to next? How do you top a 40th floor smart office?
Exactly. Elias orders Jackson Cross to immediately cross-reference all hermetically sealed smart controlled structures in the greater Miami area. They are looking for the biggest, most vulnerable architectural target.
And within moments, Jax's monitors start lighting up.
Right.
Jax detects a massive systemic anomaly. The Apex Sports Medicine Clinic has just gone completely dark.
Completely offline.
The entire digital infrastructure of the facility has been remotely locked down, and the servers are rejecting all external access protocols.
And why target the Apex Clinic? Agent Cross recognizes the building schematics immediately. The clinic features a massive, multi-room, high-altitude simulation center.
Yeah.
It's a highly specialized facility used by elite Olympic athletes to train for high-elevation environments like mountain climbing or distance running without ever having to leave sea-level Miami.
Structurally speaking, it is essentially a giant, purposefully built, reinforced pressure chamber.
And Cross points out the horrifying reality of the architecture here. Because the chamber is structurally rated to safely simulate the thin air of the stratosphere, the specialized glass enclosing this training center is incredibly thick and heavily reinforced.
It's designed to handle a pressure drop.
Right. So if the unsub takes control of the automated system and reverses the airflow just like they did at the Horizon Tower, the structural integrity of that glass will easily hold against the extreme pressure differential. But the human beings trapped inside will not.
And that is the severe escalation Elias Vance predicted. We aren't talking about one isolated individual in an office anymore. Jax intercepts the facility's manifest and confirms the absolute worst-case scenario.
The athletes.
There are 15 Olympic-level athletes locked inside that simulation center right at this exact moment.
15 innocent people trapped inside a high-tech glass box. And Elias confirms the killer's operational plan is already in motion. The internal telemetry shows the atmospheric pressure inside the Apex Simulation Center is actively plummeting.
Bird dumping fast.
The unsub is running the exact same playbook, but on a massive multi-casualty scale.
The stakes have shifted dramatically. The unit is no longer just investigating a bizarre, isolated murder. They are actively trying to prevent a mass casualty event utilizing the exact same physiological horrors of ableism.
It is a sheer race against physics. They have to literally race across Miami to crack this facility open, but they can't just smash the glass with a sledgehammer.
No, absolutely not.
If they compromise the structural integrity of the chamber while the pressure is dropping, they risk causing an explosive decompression event that could kill everyone inside anyway.
It perfectly encapsulates the new era of criminal investigation the unit is facing. To solve this, you have to synthesize multiple complex disciplines in real time.
Right.
You need a deep understanding of cybersecurity to fight the malware attempting to lock you out. You need structural engineering to understand the physical constraints of the building materials and how to safely bypass them. And you need pure physics to understand the biological ticking clock of the victims inside.
Because ableism isn't something a paramedic can easily reverse once the blood begins to boil.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The coordination required here is staggering. Jax has to try and aggressively hack back into a system that has completely locked her out, battling the unsub's code line for line.
While Cross is on site.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Cross has to look at the physical architecture of a stratosphere simulation chamber and figure out how to safely equalize the pressure of something that was engineered to be an impenetrable fortress.
It's a brilliant synthesis of the team's evolving capabilities. And looking deeply at the case files, what truly stands out to me is how effectively this unsublec highlighted the hidden costs of our modern infrastructure.
The unintended consequences.
Yes. The LED-certified buildings, the automated HVAC mainframes, the perfectly sealed climate control. These are all innovations we praise in modern architecture. We actively design these buildings to isolate us from the unpredictable natural world outside, to create a perfectly managed, perfectly comfortable interior environment.
And we brag about it. We talk about how airtight our new triple-pane windows are, or how we can control our home thermostat from our smartphones while we're on vacation.
Exactly. But this case proves that the more isolated and dependent on automation an environment becomes, the more inherently fragile it is.
Absolutely.
When the environment itself requires an operating system just to sustain basic human life, a simple line of malicious code can turn a modern sanctuary into an inescapable trap in 8.4 seconds.
And leaving that antique barometer on the desk, it's such a poignant taunt. It's a reminder from the killer that no matter how much smart technology we surround ourselves with, no matter how much code we write, we are still entirely at the mercy of the oldest, most fundamental laws of nature.
Yeah.
Boyle's law doesn't care if you're sitting in a multi-million-dollar penthouse or a high-altitude sports clinic. If the pressure drops, the physics take over.
And that's the lingering thought I want you to consider today as we conclude our analysis of the Miami vacuum case. Think critically about the spaces you spend the majority of your time in.
Your homes, your offices.
Our homes, our high-rise offices, our gyms. They are increasingly becoming smarter, more energy efficient, and more hermetically sealed off from the natural environment. We do this for comfort, and we do it in the name of sustainability. But are we unwittingly building our own high-tech traps?
If a building's digital lungs, its automated ventilation and central climate control can be hijacked by a few lines of code from a remote location, how safe are the environments we consider the most secure? Are we engineering ourselves into a corner where our own buildings can be turned against us?
It's a sobering reality to confront the next time you hear the central air conditioning kick on in a room with sealed windows.
It truly is.
What are the odds that the behavioral probability unit can hack into a sealed pressure chamber before 15 people experience the vacuum of space? We're heading to the stratosphere. See you next time.